Hello and welcome to Dawngate First Look and my first look at Marah in the jungle. So Marah is the newest shaper to be released in Dawngate. She's designed to be a jungler, though I've seen her in lane either as a bruiser or a tactician, so people are still kind of figuring out how they prefer to play her. This was somewhat of an experimental game. I did start with power and my lifesteal loadout. I'll explain why a bit later. Anyway, so we decide to invade here for some reason, except our Faras and our Kindred do not help us at all, so we have like no damage whatsoever, because Zalgus has no damage at level 1, and Zeri has no damage, period. Marah's level 1 invading potential is pretty pitiful, seeing as you really need to start with her W in order to be effective. Although her W does no immediate damage or CC or anything like that, it makes her very weak for these level 1 invades, especially when it's only 3 of us here. Despite the fact that 2 of our teammates are not helping and they all know we're here now, we do decide to stick around, and pretty much we get kited back and forth until Zalgus almost dies. I take a buttload of damage as well, and it also means that I have a pretty weak start, considering I don't really get a leash, considering the late start that we have, and I'm already down by a third of my health. So that's an absolutely wonderful start for us. Now Marah, to anyone who doesn't know what her kit is, her Q is a skill shot snare that will grapple you to the opponent, though it is a very thin skill shot. Really only best used when the opponent is already CC'd down, or if they're not paying attention or something like that. Her W will plant a tree at the location that gives you bonuses while you're around it. You can actually grapple to the tree for free, which is extremely useful, especially for escapes or surprise engages, or just for gap clearing. That being said, her W is on a very long cooldown, so you really have to be careful before you use it, because if you use it preemptively, you might be forfeiting your only escape. So, use with caution. Her E is a wall that will damage enemies that it grows over, and slow enemies that try to pass through it. And her ult is a self buff that gives her bonus power and health, as well as making her basic attacks stun opponents for a short amount of time. Now, what really makes Marah shine, in my opinion, is her passive, which lets her gain bonus maximum health occasionally if collecting acorns dropped by enemies. You can see here I use my wall first to make sure that he can't really run away, and gives me a very easy snare on him, and gives me and Kindra a very easy kill and assist, which is nice. Now, as far as building Marah goes, I did it a little bit differently for this game. You saw at the beginning I started with my life drain loadout. I don't like starting Hunger with Marah at all. It doesn't really build into anything significant in my opinion. And so I wanted to start with Power instead, seeing as it will build into something quite significant. Here we just have a bit of a bad engage. We kind of poke each other back and forth. Now I take Forest jumping in here to be our engaging, so I grab myself to dibs and they all kind of ran their foot up my ass. I kind of have to run away like a little girl. I only live because Zeri ulted me, and I leave walking away with 190 health. Yeah, kind of bad. I contemplate going back in, and then realise that I'd just be giving them a free kill if I did, so I recall back to base instead and grab some more power. Now, the reason I don't starting with Hunger on Marah is because I don't think Life Drain is very effective on her at all. I don't really build much attack speed on her, except for the one with the rhino on it, and seeing as I really only use that for movement speed stuff, I don't really find a high amount of life drain very useful on her at all. Now, I do like building power on her. I don't find her tanky potential very good at all. She does really no self-heals or shield or armor buff or anything like that. And so building health on her is just like building health on anyone else, really. She does have a scaling max health going into late game, but building extra health on top of that doesn't really do anything. Instead, I prefer to start with Strife, seeing as it will stack with her passive, which I find really nice. What it means is, in a normal 25-30 minute game, if you get Strife around the same time I do, around level 7 or 8, you'll have about 500 or 600 bonus health by the end of it, and that's not including the base health that you have from Strife, which is really quite significant. That's about pretty much a whole item just in passives, which is really quite useful. It gives her that innate tankiness that you don't really need to spend money on, which is very good. As far as the rest of my items go, I tend to go kind of controlling and utility and damage items. You see here, I missed my grapple on Dibs because I'm an idiot. He does just focus the tower just to get rid of that, but I do more damage than he anticipates, even though that's still pretty much nothing. I'm trying to CC him down as much as possible. He does shield himself to try to live, but as the shield wears off I get one more basic attack and he is done. After that, I just want to get away from King of Masks, so I grab myself over the wall, put a wall in his way so he can't follow me, and then recall under tower just because I'm scared of him. Now at this point our Kindra has disconnected, which is pretty bad considering she was one of the few competent ones on my team. Not that I was very competent, but she was certainly a help, so not having her there is pretty bad. So just to finish off my thoughts on building Marah, I do start off with Strife because I want to get those stacks as early as I possibly can. From there, I either need to figure out am I going full damage if my team is doing pretty well, or am I going to go for utility, which is what I end up doing in this game. I either want to get, I believe it's inevitability or something to slow my opponents. Getting the Rhino thing, like I said, to stop myself from getting CC down so much. You see here I get caught out and all three of them just kind of punch me in the dick. She is kind of awkward to build is the only thing, because building her tanky isn't really that useful in my opinion. Building her straight up damage makes her extremely squishy and she's not bursty at all. She's decent at chasing people, but she's not very good at being in the middle of team fights or dealing damage to high priority targets at all. Especially considering she's freaking massive and everyone wants to kill her immediately because her model is just gigantic. Now here Zalgus is doing nothing. He isn't poking King at all, even though he's under tower. And you see here King is actually able to dash in, immediately burst down Zalgus. I do my best to CC lock him, and then he kind of seals his own fate by accidentally stasising there. Bit of a fluke kill, but I will take it because I need all the feed I can get. Now as far as jungling, just as a whole with Marah, I enjoy building her as a farming jungler. I gank when I can, but really getting the stacks on Strife and her passive are what I try to do most, and so a bit of that extra damage helps me do that. As far as her ganking goes, I find initiating with her E to be much more reliable than initiating with her Q, considering missing her Q is so easy and missing her wall is practically impossible. So I initiate with a slow, which also helps gives my teammates time to come in, and then once they're slowed down quite a good bit, I grapple myself to them, claw them down even further. I do level up my W first just to give me that bonus clearing potential, and then follow that up with my E for I believe it gives an improved slow or a shorter cooldown or something. I really don't level up Q at all because I use it for the utility. Of course, maxing out her ult whenever I can. You're obviously going to take Vanquish as your first out of the spell book, and so on and so forth. Farming with her is absolutely incredibly important. She is very, very item dependent. She has practically nothing in her kit to make her useful on her own without items. So you need to get as much farm as possible to get those stacks on your passive to be able to buy yourself bonus items. Seeing as her ganking potential is weak, having a presence in lane is always important, but I wouldn't go so far as to say she's really a ganking jungler, since her ganks are so weak. We have a bit of a messy team fight here. Zeri pretty much just suicides. They all start focusing me, and everyone is trying to kill me, even though I do practically no damage. I get greedy here. I'm trying to chase King again because he's so low, and then Reyna comes in and starts beating my brains in, and then she gives up as well. Zalgus finally gets a kill that he steals from someone else, I believe. So, yes, he's at least got that going for him. I am 4-2 at this point. I've been getting a couple of fluke kills, but I've at least not been feeding, which is good. I absolutely hate that when I end up feeding, even if I'm trying to help. That is one good thing about Marah, is seeing as she is so farm heavy, if you end up feeding, you can just kind of stay on a lane for a bit and catch up with your passive and getting items. King gets over ambitious here. I'm able to steal a kill off him. Forrest does a load of damage, and then my grapple kills him. I honestly wasn't trying to steal that. I want Forrest to get as many kills as possible, but he just kind of doesn't. Now I get over ambitious here. I kind of go in. For some reason, I kept walking forward until that point, and then they just CC lock me down, and me and Forrest end up getting killed because I am incredibly greedy. And I waste my ult trying to escape as well, because I'm a genius. This game isn't really going so well for us, if you couldn't tell already. I've built Strife for the HP, obviously, and Valor for some magic resist, because they have so much magic damage. From there, I believe I'm going for more kind of health bruisery items. You can pretty much tell where this game is going, though, since we do have a disconnect and the video isn't much longer. They aren't going to end up winning this, but I just don't want to go down without a fight. I'm able to grapple myself to King here, and we do enough damage to kill him, seeing as Zalgus was just kind of standing in place and firing spells at him. But again, he's doing something, I guess. But yeah, this game doesn't really, it doesn't end very well, though it was a fun game overall. Just as far as Marah goes in the future, she is a jungler. I enjoy playing her as a jungler. I actually have a lot of fun playing as her because I think her kit is so kind of fun to play with. However, I think she is in dire need of some buffs. If Dawngate, I'm sorry, not Dawngate, if Waystone wants her to be a kind of tanky initiator, they need to either extend the range of her Q or give her some sort of increase the area of her W, or give her some sort of higher armor, magic resist buff or something, because at the moment she's not a very good tank. At the same time, if they want her to be a farming ganker or just a farmer overall, they need to give her more damage. Putting more damage on her E or increasing the slow would definitely make her ganks much more viable, and increasing the damage from her trees would make her farm much more viable. Her ult at the moment is relatively lackluster in my opinion. I don't really feel much of a difference in health or power when I activate it. The utility of just making her basic attacks stun enemies is pretty much all it's really used for. Or just a last minute heal if I'm about to be burst down. Not very significant at all, unfortunately. I am sorry to say, at this point my frames is starting to crap out. I don't know why. My frame rate drops incredibly low just because there's so much going on. There's so many particle effects from the Guardian and from all of the Shapers trying to fight over it. But you can kind of see where the game's going regardless. It didn't really end very well at all. So that's Marah for you. A lot of fun to play, but just kind of there at the moment. Doesn't really have anything that makes her stick out more than anyone else. I think once she gets some buffs to either make her more of a damage dealing farmer or more of a tanky initiator, she'll be a lot more viable. She just needs those buffs really badly. If you have a request for who I play next, leave a comment down below, or if you have some kind of link to a weird breaking the meta OP build for her, leave a comment underneath. Hit the like button because that really helps me out, helps me gauge what people like and what people don't like, and hit subscribe if you want to see more of my Dawngate First Look videos. Other than that, have fun playing a walking tree woman. Bye bye.